I have this nightmare mother-in-law. She wants to come to my house and asks for the spare key. I thought it was really weird, but I gave it to her after I consulted her son, my husband, and well, what I did not know is what she was about to use that key for. Guys, you will not believe this mother-in-law story. Hello, my name's Iris. I'm 27 and female, and I work at a clothing company as a designer. I'm very proud of my work, even though my company comes out with unconventional designs that aren't everyone's cup of tea. It was my dream job. Ever since I was a teenager, I'd wanted to design clothing. I met my husband Dan at work 6 years ago. Initially, we did not get along because he's worked as the IT guy, and we did not make a good impression on each other. However, everything changed at the office New Year Eve party, when we both got a little drunk and ended up talking throughout the fireworks behind us. The next day, he came to my workstation and asked me out. Well, we continued dating even after he changed companies, and he still accompanies me to office parties where everybody likes him. We moved in together fairly quickly and introduced each other to our families. He was so charming with my family. My parents absolutely adored him, and his family, on the other hand, especially his mother, was a little frosty. His mother, Amanda, was kind of rude to me by making these snarky comments about my appearance or job, passing them off as a joke. Dan's father had been oblivious to it all, while Dan's sister, Eleanor, encouraged Amanda's behavior. Her husband seemed uncomfortable at the table enough, and I wondered if he had to be the mark of such remarks on everyday basis too. It was an uncomfortable dinner, to say the least. Well, Dan apologized profusely and assured me that I would not have to deal with his family on a regular basis once we got married. I was taken aback by his statement, and I could see the surprise in his wide eyes. He abandoned the surprise that he planned for later and proposed to me in front of his parents' house as we were leaving. I found it sweet, and Dan often gets embarrassed and turns red when I mention his little mishap. We got married at the same place where his sister had her wedding. Throughout the wedding, Amanda kept on making these remarks, how different it was from when Eleanor got married here. Going by her tone, she meant bad different. She criticized my wedding dress because Eleanor's dress was tight, or the veil I chose because Eleanor's veil was longer. Her constant remarks were frustrating, and she was disapproved of how Dan and I had helped each other choosing our wedding attire, as it did not align with how her precious Eleanor did things. Finally, when the wedding was over, I felt relieved. I can't say I enjoyed my own wedding very much because Amanda had been all over us every second of the day. But Dan and I shifted our focus to the next steps in our lives and tried to move on from it. We purchased a house a few months after getting married, and, with the hope of raising a family in a place with a big backyard. To begin our family life in the new house, I surprised Dan, who's a cat person, by adopting a cat without telling him beforehand. He was overjoyed and loved the idea of starting our family with a pet. However, about 4 months ago, Amanda and her husband got to the house next door without telling us. They surprised us by asking for help with packing, and when we arrived, we realized that they were moving into the house right next to ours. Dan and I were not very happy about this, but it was clear that they were, so we kept our displeasure to ourselves. Since they moved in next door, they've been pressuring us for a spare key in case of, emergencies, while they gave us theirs. Initially, we tried to avoid it by saying our neighbor had it, but Amanda was relentless, and we eventually gave her a spare key. We both knew it was a horrible idea, to be honest with you, but it was confirmed the next day when we returned home after a long day and found the picture above our bed missing. I painted the picture and I was freaked out about it all of a sudden disappearing. We searched the entire house top to bottom and nothing else seemed to be missing. The following day, a new painting appeared on our bed with a note from Amanda saying that the previous picture was ugly and that we might like this one better because Eleanor had a similar one at her house. I was so mad that Amanda had invaded our privacy while we were at work. In response, I used a cutter on the new painting to send a message and hung it over our bed. Well, the next day, Amanda came over disappointed with how we've treated her gift, and I told her I did not need her gift and warned her against snooping in my house. The spare key is for emergencies, however. She did not stop. We continuously found things that she did not like in our house, destroyed or torn. You see, I'm a cup collector. I cherish the weird-shaped cups I find, and one day, I come home to find all my cups destroyed on the floor. Well, obviously I was devastated, and Dan even threatened his mother to take away her keys if she did not stop. Amanda stopped being overly aggressive after that incident, but remained passive-aggressive. Behind Dan's back, she would frequently make remarks about how I kept my house, and on one occasion she mentioned that she had segregated all my ugly clothes to the side. It happened to be the clothes that I had designed at my company. That prompted me to start looking at my closet with a lock on it and taking the key with me. However, Amanda just kept on with her comments like, I should have gotten Dan a dog instead of a cat. On another occasion, I was sick and, had to attend a very important meeting at the office for a few hours. The next day, my mother-in-law belittled me for not keeping the house clean, and in frustration, I reminded her that I was sick and pointed out that perhaps she should have taught her son to maintain a clean house since I was clearly unable to do so. She did not take kindly to my response and advised me to just be a better wife instead of complaining. Okay. More passive-aggressive comments followed, particularly about the number of pictures of my parents compared to Dan's. She criticized the fact that I had my pictures of my sister, Jasmine, more than I had of Eleanor. I wanted to ignore her comments, but she was living side by side and constantly having meals together. It was difficult to escape her. The situation escalated when my sister Jasmine needed a place to stay. She had recently broken up with her boyfriend and was looking for temporary accommodations, and Dan and I offered to help, and she moved in with us. We had not informed Amanda or anyone else about it, but Amanda found out during one of her regular snooping sessions at our house. Jasmine later told me that Amanda had startled her, but she managed to be polite with her, even though she was uncomfortable with my mother-in-law snooping around our house while we were at work. During our conversation, Amanda expressed her concerns about Jasmine living with us, fearing that she might become too dependent on us and never leave. I assured her that Jasmine was only staying with us temporarily, until she found her own apartment. Amanda rolls her eyes and accuses me of making excuses to get Dan to pay for Jasmine as well. I was outraged and told her that she had crossed the line. She defended herself by saying that she was looking out for her son and did not want women taking advantage of him. She even compared Jasmine to Eleanor, and in response I pointed out that Jasmine is much younger than Eleanor and reminded her that Eleanor was married, suggesting that maybe she was using her husband for financial assistance. She did not take this well, but at that point, I was not concerned about being nice to her. My mother-in-law demanded an apology, but I was too angry and just wanted some form of revenge for this accusation against my sister and her constant interference. I was seriously considering asking Dan if we should purchase another house and sell this one, far away from Amanda. I can't live like this. I love my art, I love what I design, and it's my pride and joy. I know my hobbies and collections can be unconventional at times, but Dan loves all these quirky things about me. I just can't stand how Amanda belittles me constantly for my true self, and I yearn for some form of revenge. The opportunity for revenge placed itself on a platter right in front of me today. My sister works night shift, so she was home when she heard some noises coming from downstairs. Freaked out, she peered over the staircase banister just to find Eleanor making out with the mystery man, who was clearly not her husband. Jasmine hurried back to her room quietly until they left. I asked Jasmine to take pictures of the affair, and Amanda constantly compares everything I have or do with Eleanor. Perhaps that she'd appreciate it if I were to cheat on my husband like Eleanor does. Of course, it's just a joke. I would never cheat on Dan. Nonetheless, Amanda would not be pleased with the idea of me potentially revealing the affair of Eleanor's husband and disrupting her precious baby's life. This is a perfect opportunity for revenge that I just cannot let go. Top comments from the original post before we hop into the update. Comment number 1. Hey Iris, it's unfortunate to hear how your mother-in-law constantly compares you with your sister-in-law. The constant snooping around your house and the breach of her privacy doesn't help either. Although, it's unfortunate that your sister-in-law is a cheater, and even more disgusting that she's been cheating on her husband in your house behind your back. I fully support your decision to get revenge. Some people are stubborn and petty until it's their family that's treated the way that they treat others, and hopefully, this will teach Amanda to keep her nose where it belongs, in her own house. I also wish that you would reveal the information about the affair to Eleanor's husband. I mean, the poor guy probably has no idea. Either way, I do wish that you could just update whatever happens when your mother-in-law sees those pictures. She sounds like a terrible person to be around, and she deserves the taste of her own medicine. Comment number 2. I do understand your frustration with your mother-in-law for her constant snooping, but asking your sister to click pictures of your sister-in-law's affair is a step too far. That's a huge breach of privacy and very insensitive way of dealing with a situation. You should just reveal this information to Eleanor's husband as calmly as possible and not bring his marriage into this petty game of revenge. If Amanda's too overbearing, you should go back to your idea of purchasing another house far away from her. Don't bring another marriage into it. I'm sure that you would love to take revenge, but this has the potential to break a family and should be handled with care. I hope you'll make the right decision that's best for everybody involved. Update number 1. Hey everyone, it's Iris. I have an update. I previously asked my sister Jasmine to take pictures of my sister-in-law Eleanor's affair with a mystery man as revenge against my mother-in-law Amanda. However, after considering your advice, I've realized that it might be insensitive. I'd like to explain what I've done instead. Jasmine heard similar noises coming from our living room 3 days after the last time, and like I had asked, she clicked a few pictures of them kissing and retreated back into the guest room to wait it out. When I saw the pictures, I could clearly see both of their profiles, and I started to wonder if Eleanor's husband Tom knew this man. We contemplated at length whether we should send these pictures to Tom, and ultimately we decided not to do so. Instead, we chose to warn Eleanor to do better, and I made it clear that I would send these pictures to Tom if necessary. We met today at Amanda's for lunch, and I got the best opportunity to confront her. I pulled her into the restroom so nobody would overhear us, and she was annoyed by my antics. But, hey, this was nothing new, so I seriously just wasn't concerned about displeasing her. I told her that I knew she was cheating on Tom with somebody else in my house. At first, she did not seem concerned, maybe thinking that she could get away with it by simply not coming over to our house anymore. She nonchalantly said that I must be drunk to accuse her or something, so I just went ahead to show her the pictures and her face turned pale. Still, she is tempted to shift the blame onto me, asking how dare I breach her privacy by taking those pictures. I countered that she breached my privacy when she cheated in my house without my permission, so she had no right to make such a complaint. That led me to wonder how she has even gotten into the house in the first place, so I asked her about it, and she rolled her eyes and just mentioned that her mother had gotten another key made using her spare key. My mouth dropped open in disbelief. How could she do that without permission? Eleanor told me to stop overreacting, though I believe my reaction was appropriate. She explained that it wasn't serious with the mystery man, attributing it to stress at the office, and I expressed my concern that Tom might not take it as nonchalantly if he found out, and she said that it wouldn't even happen again. She insisted that I just keep my mouth shut, not interfere in her marriage, saying that every marriage has a few secrets. She also warned that if I dare to jeopardize her marriage, she would not hesitate to do the same to mine. She said she would not be coming to my house like that if I kept quiet and left before I could even agree to the deal. I'm truly shocked at how nonchalant she's been being. She's cheating on her husband, yet somehow with the tone of her voice, she made me feel insignificant, like I was just a child. Now, I don't have any sympathy for her. I'll use this as a form of revenge. I really tried not to. I thought she would be frightened and promise not to cheat on Tom again, or at least show a bit of remorse. But she acted as if cheating is acceptable if you're stressed. Oh, poor Tom. Update number 2. Whoa, hey everyone, it's Iris. It's been a few days and Jasmine found the apartment to live in and has left our house. Amanda knows about it, and I'm sure that she'll start snooping in our house again now that she can do it alone without being caught by my sister. When Dan left for the office, I framed the picture of my sister-in-law cheating on her husband in a large photo frame for Amanda to find. She had once expressed displeasure that I had more pictures of Jasmine and none of her Eleanor in the house, so I wanted to see how she liked these pictures. I strategically placed them in various places to ensure that she would come across them, and one was positioned just above our bed, and I planned to return home earlier to hide them, in case Amanda did not find them at all before Dan arrived. I shouldn't have worried, though, as she found them all. When I returned to hide them, every single frame had disappeared, even the one that I placed above my toilet tank vanished. It was quite eerie. It did not take long for Amanda to enter my house after noticing the lights flicker. She barged in without knocking or ringing the bell, simply using her spare key as if she owned the place. Mad, I was on the verge of hitting her with a bat, pretending I thought it was a trespasser, which in a way she was. When I found her there, I clutched my heart in mock surprise and asked what the heck she's doing. She responded by throwing all the picture frames in her hands to the ground, shattering the glass and absolutely ruining my floor. She gets extremely close to my face and asked how dare I threaten her like this. This only further made me mad as I pushed her back, demanding to know how she dared to barge into my house using the spare key when I was clearly inside the house. I swear I was close to losing my temper and almost punched that woman. But I managed to exercise restraint because unfortunately, she's family. Well, she warned me that if I ever revealed this to anybody and jeopardized Eleanor's entire life, she would ruin me. I reminded her that Eleanor had already ruined her own life when she cheated on Tom. However, she could not see anything wrong with her precious little daughter, who should clearly know better. Well, she didn't empathize that I was nothing in comparison to Eleanor. Amanda claimed that she had worked hard to be where she's at and she would not let Dan's wife run it for her. Well, nevertheless, I was in a better mood because I've managed to get a reaction from Amanda, so I offered to make a deal. I told her that if she stopped snooping around like a creep, I would not tell anybody about it. She didn't seem thrilled and warned me that if I thought that she would work according to my terms, I had another thing coming. She left without accepting the deal. Well, and a good thing too. I felt guilty about hiding it from Tom, but I decided to wait. He deserved to hear it gently from me. It's, for the better. He should not be kept in the dark, and I floated the idea of purchasing another house far away from Amanda to Dan, and he's liking the idea. Update number 3. Hey everyone, it's Iris, and it's only the next day since the previous update. Things happened and I needed to vent here before I could do something out of anger and hurt someone. I've gone to my office, not dwelling on what happened the previous night. I wanted to discuss the best way to handle the sensitive situation with Dan first. When I returned home and saw that all the lights in the house were on, it freaked me out. Amanda had never snooped in my house at this time before, and I immediately called Dan and asked him to return to our house as soon as possible, thinking there might be a burglar. We both had baseball bats in our cars for protection, just in case. We armed ourselves before entering. The house was in shambles, which only heightened our fear. We considered calling the police, but hey, we were already inside. Our couch cushions were on the floor, and the contents of our kitchen drawers were scattered everywhere. We heard noises coming from our bedroom and decided to go look. Voices were coming from inside. When we rounded the corner, what we saw made me see red. Amanda! Eleanor! Right there in our bedroom, destroying it. They had broken into the closet by damaging the door, and as I had the keys with me, Amanda noticed us before Eleanor did. Dan was already on them, grabbing both women by their arms and pulling them out of the hallway, while I stood there shocked by what they had done. Dan yelled at them and asked what they were doing, and Amanda explained that they were teaching his wife a lesson. If I thought I could get away with taking pictures of someone, they were going to find something incriminating against me. Dan was astonished to discover that I had Jasmine take pictures of Eleanor during her affair with somebody else, and he was even more shocked to find proof of his sister's infidelity. Well, Amanda claimed that everyone has things to hide, and she would find out what I was hiding before I could ruin Eleanor's life. She attempted to walk past me, but I grabbed onto her and threw her to the floor. Eleanor reacted angry and actually tried to attack me, but I was prepared and pushed her into the wall. Dan intervened and separated us, and he yelled at Eleanor for being unfaithful and then had the audacity to be mad at me. Dan did not assist Amanda in getting up from the floor. She had to do it herself. Then he returned to her and questioned whether snooping around the house was not enough for her. That she had to take it a step further, and Amanda claimed that it was nothing. It was her son's house, and she had all the rights to it. Dan told her that in fact she did not have full rights to breach our privacy. Amanda was outraged, asking what privacy, it's her son's house. Dan was frustrated with his mother and turned towards Eleanor, asking how dare she conduct her business in our house. He was shocked to discover that Amanda had given her a duplicate key right behind our backs. Well, I threatened them to leave the house or I would call the cops. Eleanor warned me that it was not over and that she would find something against me before she left, and Amanda followed behind. Dan and I were just left to clean up after their tantrum. Dan was truly angry and decided to take off tomorrow to get the locks changed immediately, and of course get an alarm system. Well, we should have done so before the situation escalated so much, and even as I write this post, I feel my blood boiling. They had absolutely ruined my home. Why were they thinking they would find something incriminating against me under the cushions or in my bedroom is beyond me. Update number 4. Hey guys, it's Iris again. It's been 3 days since Amanda and Eleanor destroyed our house, and I initially wanted to make Eleanor and Amanda sweat by not telling Tom right away, but I knew it would not be fair to Tom. Dan and I had invited Tom over for lunch today and told him to come without Eleanor. We broke the news after lunch as gently as possible, and he was in denial until we showed him the pictures. He was shocked to discover that Eleanor was cheating on him with her boss, and we were equally surprised by this revelation. Eleanor's office was near our house, and it was clear that she was taking advantage of the proximity. Regardless, we tried being gentle with Tom and understood when he was angry. We let him go when he felt like he had calmed down a bit before letting him drive home. We had been sitting anxiously in the backyard when our doorbell rang. The person did not stop ringing it until Dan opened it. It was Eleanor, with tears in her eyes and mascara running down her cheeks. Amanda and her dad stood behind her. My father-in-law looked confused as heck about why they would even be there. When Eleanor saw me coming behind Dan, she pounced at me. I immediately took a step back, but Dan grabbed her before she could reach me. She flailed around in his arms as she cried, and she accused me of having ruined her marriage. Dan pushed her off, and I reminded her that she was the one who ruined her marriage when she cheated on Tom. Then I warned her that if she did not want her whole life to be ruined, she better behave, or I would take action against her for sleeping with her boss. Amanda was not having it and screamed at me for having the audacity to talk to Eleanor in such a way. So instead, I asked her to tell me how to talk to a woman who cheated on her husband with her boss. It did not calm her down, and she informed us that both Dan and I were the reason why Tom had kicked Eleanor out of the house. I asked in mock concern if she would be living with her now, suggesting that she should not let her, or she might grow dependent and never leave. When Amanda tried to pounce on me and Dan held her at bay, I reminded her that I was just looking out for my mother-in-law, and I would not want another woman to take advantage of her. Then Dan told them to leave, and they did. but not before threatening to ruin my life the way that I'd ruined Eleanor's. So I told them that I had nothing to hide and went back to the backyard. Regardless of how things went down, me and Dan have decided to look for housing as we don't want to be anywhere near such toxic people, and we even talked to Tom this evening, and he said that he would be sending the divorce papers to Eleanor as soon as possible. He was still in shock and was so mad at Eleanor. Dan and Tom have been good friends ever since Eleanor had started to date him, and it's nice watching him support a friend in the time of need. Anyways, I think that's it for the update. I'll update you all if something new happens. Hopefully, we'll find a house sooner rather than later. I can't even imagine how Amanda would act now that she has Eleanor living with her. Final update. Hey guys, it's Iris again with the final update. It's been 2 months since crap hit the fan. I thought it was time to wrap this up now that we're moving away. Dan and I purchased another home and also sold our old house. We moved out today. Our new house is closer to both of our offices and further away from our old home. This new house is an upgrade from the last one too, with big rooms and a better modern look. Ever since Amanda and Eleanor barged into our house, they have not done that ever again. Or even talked to us for that matter. We have had no contact with them and our lives have been peaceful since. But we did find out through Tom that he sent divorce papers to Eleanor a long time ago. They are now waiting for the court date, and Eleanor had come to beg him to take her back a few times since he found out. Each time he told her to leave and did not hear her out. But by the last few times, he just stopped opening the door when he spied Eleanor through the peephole. Eleanor lost her job because Tom had told some of the people that she worked with about the situation as retaliation, and they had to go to HR about it. Wow. He does say that he's feeling better now that he's away from Eleanor's constant whining and Amanda's constant comparison to Dan. Apparently, she treated her son-in-law the same way she treats her daughter-in-law, but in his instance, instead of supporting Tom, Eleanor had learned just to lean into criticism unlike Dan. Poor guy. I'm just glad that everything's settled and Amanda and Eleanor can't ruin our peace ever again. Thank you for coming to this journey with me. Your comments really did make sure to let me see this situation in another light. I could have been very insensitive if some of you had not told me to be better. So, thank you so much. Top comment from the final post. Dang, I love how you and Dan just stood against Amanda's toxicity. She was way too nosy, and you guys should have changed the locks way before everything went down like this. But the way you used Eleanor's infidelity as a pawn in your stupid and childish revenge was toxic. You used the lives of other people to get back at your mother-in-law, and that's low of you. Yeah, we get it. Amanda deserved what was coming for her, but there were other lives involved in this. You should have gone to Tom straight away when Jasmine told you about Eleanor's infidelity. Or even when she collected proof for you instead of warning Eleanor and Amanda. Ugh, I hope Tom finds someone better than Eleanor anyway. She sounds horrible. I just think it's so ridiculous. Eleanor shows up at OP's house, starts crying crocodile tears, saying that her marriage is now ruined and it's all OP's fault for taking those pictures. Well, I guess what she's failing to realize is that she's the one who decided to cheat on Tom. Tom, well, we know how he handled the situation, so I do want to know your thoughts about this story. Guys, drop it down below what you think about this, how it worked out. I want to know your exact thoughts. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories like this every single day. If you guys want to be a part of these daily drama stories, which include mother-in-law, sister-in-law, neighbor disputes, even HOA dramas, we have it all. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. But remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.